Hello, my name is Nelson. Before we demonstrate how to build a great mission-critical system that can last indefinitely through time and technology changes, it would be beneficial for us to review what had happened to the computing industry so we can learn from the past and prepare for the future. The computing industry has gone through 4 paradigm shifts in less than 7 decades. In the beginning, they were mainframes. They were big and powerful and intend to take care of everything. That was the host-based computing era. Then came the mini-computers, and they shared responsibilities with PC, the personal computers. We call them client-server computing. Later on, the pre-installed browsers came along to lighten up the programming requirements for the front end to enable on-demand services. Now cloud-based computing, where computer servers are chained together to perform superior background tasks, while personal computer devices such as PC, tablets, and mobile phones can focus more on the front-end requirements. The different paradigms of computing are just ways to distribute workloads so it can be more efficient and effective. First, let's try to understand what computing is all about. To put it simply, there are 3 components. The user interface is what you see and interact with. It can be a screen or report with criteria. The computation is what you don't see, and it transforms the data. Data stores persists the transformed data or provides the data to be transformed. For several decades, the mainframe, so-called host-based computing, dominated the computing world. Then the mini-computer came along in the 80s, also called client-server computing, which lasted a couple of decades. 4th-generation languages such as Power Builder, Delphi were popular at that time. In the 20th century, thanks to the internet and pre-installed browsers on personal computers, browser computing, or called web-based computing, proliferates. They have no installation requirements, and the services can be provided on demand in the cloud or on-premises. The major difference between cloud and on-premises is just whether the service is hosted by an external vendor who manages all the configurable computing resources, or hosted privately and internally on local servers that you can access through the internet. The mainframe computer has all 3 components in the same box. Sometimes they can be all on the same file, and that's host-based computing. Aside from the raw power, the difference between a mainframe and a desktop computer is just how many terminals are attached to it. A terminal is not a computer, it's just a display device emulating a session. It can be difficult to maintain or modify because everything is intertwined. It would make sense to break it down into 2 or more computers, each serving a dedicated component. Then the mini computer came along. They only handle the computation and data store components. The user interface component is installed onto a personal computer, which is called thin client. And in some cases, more computation is also handled by the client-side PC, and then it's called thick client. The term client-server computing describes the client-side program connected to the server-side mini-computers via a network, privately leased line or the internet. Today, the mobile apps being installed onto all kinds of mobile devices can be either host-based, that is all-in-one, or client-server, which needs to communicate with the server-side component via the internet. It is important to know that the version of the client program must match server version all the time, or it may not function properly. That is the reason why some apps on the mobile devices are updated all the time. Most personal computers, desktop, laptop, mobile devices already have 1 or more browsers installed. In browser computers or web-based computing, the user interface can be extremely lightweight because all the plumbing is done by the pre-installed browsers. There is no installation requirement. This user interface pages are interpreted on demand by the browsers via the internet or intranet via a local area network. The good news is there is no security concern because everything is running in a sandbox That is, whatever is running in the browser cannot jeopardize the integrity of your computer without asking for your permission. The bad news is many specialized functionality on the desktop or mobile devices may not be accessed by the browsers. HTML5 is attempting to overcome some of these issues. Cloud-based computing is a mix of everything on a shared pool of configurable computing resources managed by cloud vendors. Most popular cloud computing software is web-based, which can be accessed by browsers via the internet on demand from any desktop or mobile devices. There are also plenty of mobile apps installed on specific mobile devices that connect as client to server resources via the internet. Sometimes hybrid apps can be found which take advantage of the benefits from both forms of computing. The good news for web app is write once only to run on all devices of all sizes, while mobile apps is designed usually to run on specific devices such as Android, iOS, BlackBerry, etc. The bad news for web app is it cannot run unless there is internet access, while most mobile apps can run offline. However, there is good news from Google. Google is floating balloons in the stratosphere, twice as high as airplanes and the weather, by partnering with telecommunication companies to share cellular bandwidth. People all over the world will be able to connect to internet all the time, even in remote areas. Google has flown these balloons 7 times around the world in 2015 and recently testing remote areas in India. Soon everyone can enjoy reasonable internet access 24/7 anywhere on Earth. When that's available, web apps should become the most desirable form of computing. These are the takeaways. Web apps should become the most desirable form of computing. The building block for Rintaki and its generated mission-critical database application is currently web app. In addition, Rintaki has the ability to generate new technology even to itself if and when the paradigm shifts again. Thank you for watching. In the next video, we will describe how Rintaki platform generates and modify database applications. We shall demonstrate that Rintaki is also just another application that it generates itself.